WoW 2.0. It seems like a lot of people are on that train now, and I would be remiss if I weren't going to talk about WoW 2.0 and the possibility that WoW 2.0 can be coming. So let's start with the lore side of it. That's exactly what Zovaal is going to do now, right? Zovaal is going to reset all of reality. It's going to reshape reality, right? And then, of course, he's going to try and make everyone serve. He's going to try and bring everyone into the fold of domination. He despises the idea of life and death. He despises the idea of free will quite clearly. And therefore, to him, the end of the universe makes sense. The biggest question that I find around this topic, the biggest question that I think exists around this topic is, what is the likelihood of Blizzard going after Zovaal immediately in patch 9.2? Because Zovaal is fucked off now to the Sepulcher of the First Ones, right? That's where he is now. And as I've already explained, I believe that the Sepulcher of the First Ones is the grave of the universe. It's why it's called the Sepulcher of the First Ones. It is where the tools lie that can reoriginate the universe. So if the universe went completely the wrong way, and before people go, bro, why would they have that? Why did the Titans have that on Azeroth? They left the tools of reorigination on Azeroth. Why? What was the purpose of that? Because the Titans learned from their fathers and their mothers. They were taught everything by the First Ones. You must always have a failsafe. You must always have a reset button in case the universe did not run the way that you wanted it to. In case you believe that the universe is wrong, there must be a way for you to reset the universe so that it could maybe go a different direction, or you could influence it in a different way. This is what Zovaal is going to do at the Sepulcher of the First Ones. My personal opinion, before we get into the discussion of WoW 2.0, my personal opinion is that I do not want Blizzard to run after Zovaal. Zovaal, to me, is the perfect character to become the next big bad in the World of Warcraft universe. To become the next Sargeras, if you will. We require that. We need that. Without a Sargeras, World of Warcraft doesn't really have a big bad, doesn't really have something that we need to fear on a fundamental level. So I really want something that can bring that challenge back to the game, if you will. So I don't want Blizzard to rush after Zovaal. I would prefer it if the majority of this expansion actually leads into the setup for the next expansion, where we will finally go after Zovaal. We will most likely visit a Titan world, because I do believe that the Sepulcher of the First Ones is somewhere on a Titan world. But this is where we sort of, I suppose, get into the not so much lore discussion, but rather the physical discussions of a WoW 2.0. Is that something that Blizzard and World of Warcraft can absolutely benefit from? You bet your ass. You bet your ass. In every single way, shape, and form, a WoW 2 would be an amazing time to bring all of the power back, to fix all of the early mistakes that you've made, because you do now have the luxury of looking back at decisions that you made in the past and going, right, we're not going to make those decisions again, because those decisions actually painted us into a corner. So we're not going to make those decisions again. Instead, we're going to do all the decisions that made the game good, right, without employing the decisions that made the game sort of bad or took the game down a bad road. There is an obvious, very obvious downside to making WoW 2.0. Said the Jailer is the big bad and final boss of the Shadowlands, haven't they? Jeffy Cakes. So what you're referring to is Ian said that in an initial interview. The Jailer is the big bad and the final boss of the expansion. Then one of the lore developers and one of the raid designers was asked in an interview, so is the Jailer the final boss of the expansion? And they answered, anything can happen. So it was confirmed, and then later it basically got retconned. So yeah, at this point, really doesn't know. Like, no one knows. I think I don't even know if Blizzard knows who is the actual final boss of this expansion, right? I think they have sort of decided to change their own story to go a different direction with it. So yeah, at this point, it's all up in the air. No one knows. But there's a genuine risk when it comes to a WoW 2.0, and here's the biggest issue with it. You have two options when you do a WoW 2.0. Option number one is the safest option, but it could lead to some very bad gameplay decisions. Option number one is you keep WoW 1 alive. You don't update it anymore and you don't add new content to it, but you keep it alive. So people can still collect their mounts, they can still collect their pets, they can still do all of their fun things. And WoW 2 becomes a second game that stands on its own, but it is the new World of Warcraft. So anyone that wants new story and new gameplay, they can go play WoW 2, right? So much like Classic WoW and TBC WoW, or TBC Classic right now, yeah? Two very different fucking games. Here's the biggest downside to that. You risk splitting your existing player base, right? Where half of them stay in the old world and half of them move to the new world, and neither world is big enough to actually sustain itself. And I'm not just talking about money here, I'm talking about physically just neither world is big enough to sustain itself. There's not enough players to actually do anything with that game, right? Or to actually make the game feel like an MMO. You also have no evidence, right, that it's going to bring in new people, which is, of course, your biggest issue. You have no evidence or no guarantee that you make WoW 2 and suddenly new fucking players come in and they stop playing your new game. That's not something that you have the guarantees of. So the downside is very big. The upside is not guaranteed. Like, there's guaranteed downsides to making a WoW 2. There's not guaranteed upsides to making a WoW 2. You'd have to make a very good game in order to convince people to get into WoW 2, right? Now, of course, there is the other way that you could do it, which is you kill WoW 1 entirely. This is the riskiest of all of them, because it takes the little safety net that you had with WoW 1 and it removes that. But it also removes the possibility that you will split your player base, because there will not be something for your player base to jump into. So you don't even call it WoW 2, you call it World of Warcraft The Realm Reborn, right? You just steal Final Fantasy's name. You wipe the entire world, everything in it, it's all gone. And everything starts from scratch, with no one having any memory of what exactly happened and how it happened. This really is the two choices that you have with the WoW 2. There's other choices, but they all run into the exact same problems. We don't need to go into them, because they're going to run, all of them are going to run into the same problem. Splitting the player base, upsetting the player base, leaving some players who loved the old World of Warcraft feeling completely disenfranchised, not knowing what they're going to do. So at the end of the day, I think it's a dangerous game to play, to start talking about WoW 2. Is it something that I would fucking love to see? You bet your ass. I think a WoW 2 would be fantastic. A chance to reset the story, reset the game, get a new, better story. A story that actually from the beginning takes into consideration the player and what the player wants, right? I think that would be awesome. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because there's too much downside to it. And it takes genuine balls to go down that road. It takes genuine balls. And I don't think Blizzard have those balls. I don't think Blizzard is willing to go down that road. The downside is just too great. And Blizzard haven't shown any affinity to take steps like that. What's even more important about all of this is you have to realize Blizzard themselves do not believe that there's anything wrong with World of Warcraft. Whooper, the problem with your argument that you do not want to lose years of work, the day World of Warcraft dies, you'll lose those years of work anyways. So you could either say, well, just manage the decline for as long as humanly possible, please Blizzard, until the game finally dies and I no longer can play the game. Or you can say, try and do something that I can at least play another game, right? But at the end of the day, once World of Warcraft dies, your game's over anyways, right? So all of your work is gone anyways. Thank you so much for watching this clip from Twitch. For more live stream content and being part of this conversation, remember to hit the link in the description down below that will take you to Twitch. Give me a follow there and you can become part of this conversation. A massive shout out to all of the Twitch subs for making this possible. And then of course to all of the patrons of the channel that just continue to fuel and power this channel. Without you, me and Alex would literally be out of a job. And do you really want that on your conscience? Do you really want Alex not to have a job? Monster.